As I record this at the end of April in 2023, it's looking like the WGA is going to be on strike come 12:01 a.m. Pacific time on May 2nd. But you may be asking, well, how does the strike impact you since you're not part of the WGA? And the answer is it doesn't, unless... Let's first dispense with what the WGA is and what it isn't. And this is a super quick overview, so I'm generalizing, there's always nuances, but if you're not part of the WGA, it's really not going to matter too much anyway. First, the WGA is a guild, not a union. Unions can get people jobs. Guilds do not. And I see posts all the time on social media. Why doesn't the WGA just help new writers and give them jobs? Well, it's because that's not what they do. The Guild is a cooperation of skilled writers for film, TV, alternative media, and fiction podcasts, among other things, who pool their resources to improve the collective working conditions, pay, and benefits for its members. They make sure everyone who is supposed to get paid for work done actually gets paid, and they offer some legal protection to its members depending on the circumstances. The Guild then leverages those resources to contract with companies who agree to adhere to the Guild's terms, and in turn, Guild members can work for those companies. So writers get, in theory, good pay and good working conditions, and the companies get top talent, because you have to earn your way into the Guild by selling your work based on a point system that the Guild has established. And if you're part of the Guild, you're in good shape, or at least you should be, because right now there are some big issues the Guild is not happy with, and the negotiators on the studio side are not budging. As a result, the Guild voted on whether or not to go on strike, called a strike authorization vote, and overwhelmingly the Guild said strike. So the negotiators have until the May 1st deadline, which is at midnight, to resolve their differences. But it's not looking good as I record this, and if you want to know more about why the Guild is contemplating a strike and what the issues are, you can go to the WGA website to get you started. But how does the Guild help you, even if you aren't part of the Guild? Well, if you are not part of the Guild and you manage to get a script to a company who has partnered with the Guild, known as a signatory, and they want to buy your script, they have to buy it according to Guild terms and their current contract, also known as the MBA, the Minimum Basic Agreement. And what that means is the signatory company agrees to pay at least the minimums established by the Guild. They might pay more, but they've at least got to pay the minimums, meaning you're getting paid more than you would if you were working for a non-Guild signatory company. Because if you're not working with a Guild signatory, you're not going to be paid very well. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. It's kind of like the Wild Wild West, and non-signatory companies can do whatever they want, and if you agree to, sell your script for $1, they don't care, and you really have no recourse at that point. But you can earn your way into the Guild, and once you're part of the Guild, you agree to work only with signatories of the Guild, only with the people who have agreed to abide by the MBA. So once you're part of the Guild, you can only sell scripts and work for companies who are Guild signatories. If you're not part of the Guild, and I'm guessing you aren't, you can actually work with anyone you want to, Guild signatory or not, unless there is a strike. And this is where it gets a little tricky, but here is the gist. When the Guild strikes, they are saying that their members are not going to work for any signatory company in any writing capacity whatsoever. No writing, no pitching, no meetings, no outlines, no nothing. And the intent is to bring those companies back to the negotiating table and work through a new contract that both sides will then agree to, and so that they can again hire writers and have original content. So the strike isn't against every company that might want to buy your script. And when the WGA goes on strike, they're only striking against the signatory companies who have a current agreement with the Guild, which they'll refer to as struck companies now, because they are striking against them, so they're struck. And what this means for you is that you can still submit your scripts to companies and producers who are not signatory companies. But if you submit scripts to a struck company, now you are literally and metaphorically crossing a line you should not cross. And here's why. And this is from the WGA website's Strike Rules FAQs. It has long been the WGA West and WGA East policy to ban from future membership any non-member who performs writing services for struck companies what is commonly known as scab writing. So if you, a non-guild member, engage in any writing service whatsoever, including negotiations for a script with a signatory company being struck against, you will be banned from future membership in the guild. And if you want to be a professional screenwriter someday, being banned from the guild is a bad move. So in a nutshell, here's what's allowed and what isn't. Guild members under normal circumstances cannot work for non-signatory companies because of their membership in the guild. This is a constant whether there's a strike or not, so it doesn't matter. Guild members can only work for signatory companies. However, during a strike, guild members also cannot work for any signatory company because that's who they're striking against. And during a strike, non-guild members, so probably people like you, can work for non-signatory companies. You can totally do that, but you cannot work for signatory companies if you hope to join the guild at some point in the future. And again, you would want to join the guild because you're guaranteed higher pay because the guild works to negotiate that in the contracts that they make with the signatory companies. And to be clear, any studio or production company who's done anything noteworthy is more than likely a guild signatory. Every agent, manager, and other writer representative is also entangled in this because negotiating contracts, setting up meetings, and a host of other things agents and representatives do for their writers is all considered writing activity and cannot be done. Or those agencies would be in violation of their franchise agreement with the guild. So a WGA writer can't sell or take meetings or negotiate contracts or anything, and an agent representing the WGA writer also cannot do any of those things. A strike is essentially a cold, hard stop on any struck company to dry up the faucet and remove all writer services from them. WGA writers are also required to request back any script that may have sent to any struck company that is not yet under contract. I sent in my query, they wanted my script, but they haven't made me an offer, the strike happens, I have to request that script back. Now, you don't have to do that, but you can't engage in any negotiations about that script until after the strike order has been lifted, if it is with a struck company. So one way to think about this is, let's assume for a moment that there is no strike, okay? It's just life as normal. All non-GA writers live on the poor side of the train tracks. They can work on the poor side, but they don't get paid very well or treated very well because they aren't part of the guild that ensures that everyone's taken care of. But non-WGA writers who are on the poor side of the tracks can also cross the train tracks and write for people on the rich side of the tracks whenever they're able to do so. And once they earn enough points from selling scripts, they're invited to move to the rich side. And once you're on the rich side of the tracks, why would you want to move back? Or why would you want to work for someone on the other side? You probably wouldn't. You'd only want to work for the companies who are signatories and who are on the rich side of the tracks. And if you tried to work for someone on the other side, the poor side, you'd actually be arrested for trespassing and it would go poorly for you. But if there's a strike, you, who are currently on the poor side of the tracks, if you ever want to live on the rich side of the tracks, you now cannot work on that side while the strike is going on. You have to only work on the poor side of the tracks. If you sneak over, you're going to be arrested and then you're going to be banned forever. So in the interests of self-preservation for you, if you ever have hopes of being a professional screenwriter, and if there is a strike, do not submit any script, don't take any pitch meeting, don't take any general meeting, don't engage in any negotiation, nothing a professional writer would do if it's with a signatory company. And if you're not sure if the company is a signatory or not, like I sent this in, they wanted my script, but I don't know if they are or not, the WGA website does a good job of listing them. And if you can't find it, you can always email and ask. And here's the thing, if you're currently negotiating with a signatory company and a strike happens, talk to someone at the guild about how to proceed. They will answer your email. They want you to succeed, but they also want to make sure that these companies are getting the message that they need to come back to the negotiating table. And any signatory company is going to know that they can't meet with you anyway. They may try and see if you just don't know any better, but now you do. And you can always say, you know what, I am happy to pick up this conversation after the strike is resolved and leave it at that. I mean, yeah, it may disrupt negatively a deal you have in progress, and that kind of sucks, but it's not worth it. Support the guild because ultimately they are negotiating a more fair deal for you when you do become a member. And if you're in LA, a great way to meet other riders is to join in on the picket lines when you can. Introduce yourself, ask them how they got started, ask them for advice. You'll be surprised at how many of them are happy to share with you whatever they can. And use this time to write scripts, because when the floodgates open after a strike, it can be a feeding frenzy. So finish up that script you're working on, and if you need a strategy for how to revise it, watch this. If you found value, don't forget about all the fun buttons. There are links below that may be of help, and if there's a strike, don't submit to struck companies. But when you tell a story that matters. See you later.